Hey, this is Patrick Kelly coming to you from Monterey Bay, California. I'm here for the start of the Great Pacific Race. Mike Matson from our West End campus and his partner, Brian Kroskoff, are going to row this rowboat 3,000 miles from this point in California all the way to Honolulu, Hawaii. This is an exciting way to sponsor Attack Poverty. So go to teamattackpoverty.org and be part of this row over the next 39 days and watch Mike Matson as he crosses the Pacific Ocean. This is a great kind of metaphor to life because we all have oceans to cross and mountains to climb and great challenges that we have to face. So over the next few weeks, we're starting a new series today called Moving Mountains. And we're going to talk about how our faith in God can actually move the challenges away so that we can walk in a way that honors God and gives us a good life. Now, while I'm jacking around here in Monterey, our good friend Ryan Leak is there working hard. I'm so glad he's there. So would you welcome my friend, my brother, Ryan Leak.
Good afternoon, River Pointe. I want to take a moment to greet everybody that's watching online, Missouri City Campus, West End. And as Patrick said, I am here today working hard while he is enjoying the beach life in California. Poor him, pray for him. We are starting a series called Moving Mountains, and we're going to talk for the next 4 weeks about faith. I'm actually going to be back here also on Father's Day. If your dad's not here, if your husband didn't come today, you definitely don't want him to miss Father's Day. I've got a special message, and I promise you it will not be a discouraging message for dads. We love moms on Mother's Day. Dads feel like they get beat up on Father's Day here at church. That's not what's going to happen. We've got a very encouraging message. If dad only comes to one service a year, you want him to come for Father's Day. We're going to have a good time. Today, I'm going to start by looking in the Gospel of Matthew. If you don't know who Matthew is, Matthew was an outcast in society, a notorious sinner that Jesus gave an invitation to follow him. And he said yes. And he got a front row seat to the life of Jesus, one of the most accurate writings that we have of the life of Jesus. And in chapter 17 of that, he tells a story that I think is going to help us with our faith. It says this, and when they came to the crowd, a man came up to him and kneeling before him said, "Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has seizures and he suffers terribly. For often he falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not heal him." And Jesus answered, "O faithless and twisted generation, how long am I to be with you? How long am I to bear with you? Bring him here to me." And Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and the boy was healed instantly. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, "Why could we not cast it out?" He said to them, "Because of your little faith. For truly, I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you." Today, I'd like to speak to you on the subject, remover of mountains. Let's pray. Lord, I thank you so much for the opportunity we have today to look at the story and life of Jesus. And Lord, I pray that today you would help us simply grow our faith. In Jesus' name I pray. Everybody say it. I am a huge sports fan, particularly a National Basketball Association fan. And the common denominator of sports fanatics is that we can often believe very silly superstitions about our teams. If your team is down 20 at halftime and then you switch seats and all of a sudden they win, that now becomes your lucky chair, okay? Like if you're a sports fanatic, you're going to make sure that you make it to that chair every single time. For some people, it's wearing certain socks, certain underwear. I mean, people have the craziest superstitions. I'll never forget in 2011, I was a big Kobe Bryant fan at the time when he was in the league, and they were playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. My team, the Lakers, are down 20. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she was over at my apartment. And I don't know what it is about romantic relationships, but I feel like our significant other always wants our attention the most when we want to give it the least. And nevertheless, she knew I was very engaged and angry at the television, and that didn't stop her from desiring my attention. And so my wife, girlfriend at the time, she comes and tries to cuddle up next to me. I'm not in the cuddling mood right now, okay? I'm in the what is wrong with the Lakers mood. Like I need to be fully engaged, and she's trying to prove a point. And out of the corner of I'm just staring at her. I'm like, woman, you better back up off of me. But out of the corner of my eye, I see Kobe Bryant hit a three-pointer. I said. Then all of a sudden, Derek Fisher, he hits a three-pointer. I said, Amanda? What? Are you my new? Next thing I know, Lakers won in double overtime. Okay, I called my brother. I said, I have found our lucky charm, okay? We are watching no matter what, you will cuddle up next to me any game you want to. Like, it's the deal. There are certain people that are sitting here right now, and you have taken full responsibility for the Rockets losing to the Warriors. Like you would go, dude, it's my bad. I got stuck at work. I didn't make it to my lucky chair. It's my fault. Like, you just take the blame, and it's just, and then there's others of you, you're like, I take full responsibility for the Astros winning. It was because I wore the lucky socks. I told you it was going to happen. Like, we're going to figure it out. I mean, no matter who we are, we all have a belief in something. It might be small, it might be big, it might be silly, it might be facetious, but on some level, all of us believe in something. In fact, the definition of faith is complete trust in something or someone. Every single person in here has put their faith in someone or somebody. And more times than not, it's a something. Sometimes it's a degree. Sometimes it's this plaque on the wall. There's this award that we go, okay, this is going to define who I am, and I have put my faith and my trust that this is going to provide a life for me for the rest of my life. Sometimes it's not just a degree. Sometimes it's just a career. You're going, man, I look at my job. I look at what I've been able to do. I look at my resume. I look at that body of work, and that's the thing that I'm proud of. And I've put my faith in my career that it's going to take me places in life. Sometimes it's a portfolio. Sometimes it's a number. You've looked at your 403B, your investments, your stocks, your bank account, and as long as that number is satisfactory, then you feel like that your life is going to have some sort of significance. For some of you, it's a relationship. It's a marriage, it's a dating relationship, and you've looked at that person as your source. Maybe you've looked at your boss as your source. You're going, man, this is the person that can make or break my life, and if I could just get in good with them, then maybe my life will make sense. Maybe I'll get that promotion. Maybe I'll find myself experiencing some sort of elevation. And for some of us, it's a talent. You're so good at what you do, and you just think, well, as long as I stay good and stay on top of the game, then, man, and ultimately you're putting your faith in yourself. These things aren't bad, but you're silly to believe that these things can sustain your life just as silly as we believe that sitting in specific chairs will help our sports team win basketball games. These things are great, but what they lack is the ability to move mountains. And I believe that there are some amazing people here today that maybe you've got some things going on that are going well for you in life, and that's great. And maybe you found yourself in a position where you're even able to help others. But maybe you're really not in a position to move mountains. Maybe you're facing something so challenging that even money can't fix it. There are multimillionaires that struggle with anxiety and depression. And there is no amount of money that can help them in that regard. You can't write a check you can't just money that away. On some level, all of us face a mountain of some sort. I love this verse. A father has brought his son to Jesus. And it's just going, something's wrong with my boy. And your followers couldn't do anything about it. Jesus says, all right, I'll take care of it. The disciples go, why couldn't we do that? And he says, Because if you're little faith, for truly I say to you, if you have faith like a grain of mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. For those of us that have read this passage hundreds of times, you may have seen it said that it can be as small as a mustard seed. Well, if you're a critical thinker like I am, you're going, well, Jesus, which is it? You just condemned me for having little faith, then you encourage me to have little mustard seed faith. So they both seem small, so ultimately you gotta ask yourself the question, what's the difference between little faith and mustard seed faith? I'm glad you asked. Now, a mustard seed is very tiny, one of the tiniest seeds that you'll find in the Middle East. But what's great about a mustard seed is not its size. What's great about a mustard seed is its potential. A mustard seed can go from just a small seed and can grow to be a 10-foot tree. That was the beauty of a mustard seed. So when we talk about mustard seed faith, this is what I want you to see. The difference between little faith and mustard seed faith is that even though both start small, only the latter is growing. There's a big difference between faith that just goes, all right, I believe until a challenge arises. But growing faith says, all right, I'm going to believe even in the face of adversity. Little faith stops when it faces adversity. Mustard seed faith keeps going when victory is uncertain. Can I encourage you with something today? It's not faith if it's not tested. It's not faith if it's not tested. And one of the biggest challenges that Christ followers face is unanswered prayer. When they experience unanswered prayer is the time where they usually abort mission. When they experience unanswered prayer is usually when they look for the exit sign. That is usually the moment where they go, okay, you know what, God didn't show up on my timeline. I wanted to see Jesus at 7 p.m. and he didn't show up, and so you know what, I'm done. In fact, I love what this father says. He says, hey, I went to your people and they couldn't do anything with me. How many family, friends, loved ones, co-workers do you and I have that aren't Christians or don't go to church anymore, not because they are mad at God, but because they're mad at somebody they experienced at church? Your people. And this is a challenge for a lot of us, is that we end up, something happens that challenges your faith, and you just go, I'm not really sure that I want to continue believing this. Perhaps you were sold on the magic pill Christianity, that, man, God's going to change your life right now, and everything's just going to be great forever, and you're never going to have any problems, and this is going to be awesome. But really, faith is not a magic pill. Faith is a journey that should be growing. It's okay to start small, but God's plan for us, God's plan for your life is that you would continue to live with growing faith. And if you live with the growing faith that goes against adversity, and even when you're not sure what the next step is, even when you don't know what's on the other side of your faith, you decide to just keep going anyways. Jesus is teaching his disciples that when you have that type of faith, man, you'll see the impossible. I had the opportunity to speak at a graduation this past week, and it was at a pretty unique school that specializes in taking some of the worst students. They particularly look for high school dropouts or students that are on the brink of dropping out, and they say, we'll take them. We'll be their second chance. We'll be their last resort to see if they can graduate. There were 23 students in this graduating class, and a lot of these students have been facing impossible odds. Some of their parents are currently incarcerated. Some of their parents are strung out on drugs, alcoholics. Some of them are responsible financially for their entire family, yet they're wearing a cap and gown. And I got to sit on the stage as I heard each of the 23 names called, and I'm standing next to the diplomas, and they didn't just call out their names and everybody clapped. Anthony Johnson, woo! No, this is what they did. And watching the students and knowing their stories and hearing what they did was amazing to me. They would say, Anthony Johnson. And then for all 23 students, they also pronounced their dream. Anthony Johnson, future FBI agent. Sarah Smith, future family lawyer. On and on and on, dream after dream after dream after dream. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, man, isn't it awesome that they didn't give up? Isn't it awesome that somebody gave them a second chance and they fought and they got together and were able to get past some adversity so that they have a shot at life? I can only imagine what would happen in our life if we had that same tenacity that just said, you know what? I realize that sometimes I have to sit in the middle of some disappointment, in the middle of some unanswered prayer, but yet I'm going to believe anyways. I believe that some of you showed up here today to simply hear these words. Don't give up. Don't give up. I know you might have had some disappointments. Don't stop coming to church. I know you might have some unanswered prayer. Don't stop praying. Don't stop picking up your Bible. You might go, I don't even understand what this is saying. I just encourage you, continue to dig a little bit deeper. Because what I would hate for you is for you to walk away from God way too soon. Way too soon. And miss out on seeing a mountain move. In all reality, haven't we tried to move mountains ourselves anyways and failed miserably? Here's the biggest regret you're never going to have. Waiting on God. I've never heard anyone go, man, I just waited and waited and waited and waited on God, and it was the biggest regret of my life. I've never heard anybody say that. In light of that, man, I encourage you. We are encourage you in this entire series. Put your faith, put your trust in Jesus. And in the midst of challenges, it's not if something happens. It's when something happens. Because it's going to happen. Every single one of us is going to face some sort of adversity. Every single one of us, our faith is going to be challenged in one way or another. And in that moment, I encourage you to stay in the fight. To keep believing, to keep showing up, even in moments where you're going, man, I don't know. Well, what do you know? Can't you look back and see that God has been good? Oh, the other thing that I love about this passage is he says, you will say to this mountain, move from here to here, and nothing will be impossible for you. Well, when he says this mountain, you have to start asking yourself a couple questions. Where were they? Were they looking at a mountain? Were they going, hey, you see this mountain? You'll be able to say to it. Or when he says this mountain, was he referring to the unanswered prayer of the father who just wanted his son to get better? And anytime you see any sort of phrase that wouldn't be westernized, so to speak, you always have to ask yourself, is the phrase that this scholar, Jesus, using something that the hearers of what he is saying that they would be familiar with? And this is an interesting deal because scholars would say this, that Jews used to call their greatest teachers by the expression, removers of mountains. The expression was used to highlight the fact that the teacher had a profound insight into weighty or mountainous problems. So Jesus used this illustration on purpose to say, hey, here's the deal. This thing that you think is so heavy is such a big deal. I want to introduce you to myself. I am the remover of mountains. This thing that you think is just so heavy, I think once you get my insight into this situation, I think it'll be manageable. Now, me and my wife, we have a 3.5-year-old cute kid. We've never thought about giving him away to anybody. He is coming into his own. He is starting to somewhat become a man, and there are some challenges there. We're at the negotiation stage of his development, where he wants to negotiate what he eats and when he sleeps, if he sleeps at all. He is climbing up everything. He consistently puts himself in life or death situations, mostly death situations to be exact. He looks for every individual weapon of destruction in our home and tries to use it against himself because he believes it is a toy. What else? He has this play toolkit. I have a real toolkit. And he has these fake screws and this fake screwdriver where I was using a real drill with real screws, and he wants to do everything does. And so he decides to take that real screw with a real drill and tries to drill what he thought would be like a fake hole through his cheek. I saved his life. Don't worry, he's alive. Let's see. He loves flights of stairs and likes to jump them, and he's a little bit of a daredevil. He believes that the entire world is one big bathroom, and he decides that he can use the bathroom wherever he feels like using the bathroom. We were at a friend's house the other day who has lots of means and a very, very nice home in this nice gated community, and kind of renovated the house with nice white carpet. And he was splashing water in the owner's face. And I said, hey, Jackson, don't do that. My friend's like, dude, he's a kid. Like, he's playing. It's fine. I go, no, it's rude, okay? He hits strangers and thinks it's, like, funny. And we're at this guy's house. I said, hey, man, we're going to get ready to go. He said, okay. And Jackson's running around this man's home, and his house is big enough that I actually don't know. I actually lost my son for a good 10 minutes. And all of a sudden he says, da, pee-pee. And I said, oh, my gosh, please don't tell me he peed on this man's carpet. And I got upstairs, and he had left chocolate ice cream on his it's not chocolate ice cream, but I'm just trying to be fair here in the house of the Lord. So he left that on his white carpet. That wasn't embarrassing at all. We were on a plane, and there was a gentleman next to us that wanted to sleep, and I just said, this isn't going to work for you. My son slaps him in the face, because my son doesn't believe anybody should sleep, including himself. I was sweeping outside the other day, sweeping the sidewalk, and he wanted to come out. I said, son, go back inside. It's 100 degrees out here. You could die in this heat. And he goes, no. And, you know, I never thought I would use these words because it frustrated me when my parents used these words, but I used the term because I said so, thinking like that would make sense to him. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because I said so. Go back inside. My son obliged to what I said. He just decided to close the door and lock me out. Now I'm like outside with the broom, like, hey, you better open this door right now. And I'm just thinking, if my wife comes home, she's going to kill me, and then I'm going to kill him, and it's just going to be bad, okay? And the neighbors are like, hey, everything all right over there? Nothing to see here, buddy, okay? Just playing a little game called Lock the Door. He's going to unlock it soon. Now, I'm telling all of these stories to one of my really good friends. His name is Larry. Larry has 7 kids, okay? I tell all of this to Larry. This is how Larry responds. Yeah. And I'm going, Do you not hear the stories that, like, he tried to kill himself, okay? Like, did you not hear he's 3? He's like, He's like, have you had to go to the emergency room yet? I go, not yet. He goes, then you're not really a parent yet. I'm like, what? What is that? Isn't it amazing? Like, anybody here that's got older kids or multiple children, they're not faced by anything that I just said, okay? They're like, chocolate ice cream. Listen, my kid dropped chocolate ice cream everywhere all around our house and then makes murals, okay? Like it's no big deal. Ultimately, isn't it interesting that when you're talking to somebody that has been through what you've already been through, it's not that your problems go away. It's just that what you thought was mountainous becomes manageable. It's like you've ever heard somebody, oh, you're married, and then you hear your single friend talking about their problems, and you just start laughing? Man, I don't have any time. You're like, you ain't got, okay, all right, okay. I'm going to just listen to you. Go ahead. You don't have time. Yeah, I know. No time. One of my friends called me the other day crying. He lost his job. Like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do in my life, man. I got this job was everything to me. I said, hey, man, you're 22. You're going to be all right. What am I going to do? Yeah, you're going to find another job. You got like 80 years to find it. But in the moment, it feels like a mountain. And I just want you to know, man, like today you might be facing some serious marriage issues. You might be facing some serious depression issues, some serious health issues, some serious money problems. And I just want you to know that what we want to encourage you to do over the next 4 weeks is to take some time and spend some quality time with the remover of mountains. And if you would just gain his insight, if you would just spend some time with the Lord, and if you would just begin to really start asking yourself this question, how does God see your greatest problem? If you would just invite his wisdom, invite his insight into your situation, I'm of the notion, of the belief, that you will find yourself moving mountains. Because the remover of mountains has this divine insight that can help us see things that we cannot see on our own. And what you got to know is that God is looking at your situation. He's looking at your biggest mountain, whatever your mountain is that you're facing today. He is not sitting on his throne nervous about what's going on with you. He is not intimidated, perplexed, or flabbergasted by anything that's happening with you. God is not sitting on his throne like, whoa, Timmy done messed up this time. Guys, I don't know what we're going to do with this one. He has made more mistakes than any man in human history. This marriage, they fight way too much to be fixed. I'm sorry. Nope. Man, this depression, man, this job, he is not freaking out about your life. He is listening to our biggest challenges like my friend Larry. Yeah. God has 1,000 ways to answer your one prayer. He's that big. He's that awesome. The only thing he needs from you is for you not to give up. For you to have a growing faith, a faith that does not give up when it faces trying times. Here's the last verse that I want us to see. The Bible says this: trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Is there any area of your life where you are making great and large decisions based off of your own understanding? Here's a question I want you to talk about at dinner. Here's a question I want you to talk about over lunch. What or who do you depend on the most? What or who do you depend on the most? And I would encourage you, if the answer to this question is anybody but Jesus, I would simply ask you over the next 4 weeks to make a transition. To say, Lord, I want to begin depending on you for everything. I want to shift my complete trust to you because you've got great experience. He has been moving mountains longer than you've been alive. Would you allow the remover of mountains to invade your life? Would you allow the remover of mountains to invade every relationship that you have? To say, Lord, I know that there are some things, some trying times, some unanswered prayers that I have right now. And I really would like for you to move this mountain. But between that time and now, may you find me faithful. And I believe on the other side of your faithfulness, you will find yourself moving mountains. Lord, I thank you so much for this amazing church. I pray, God, that today, for my friends that are facing challenging times, obstacles that feel insurmountable, I pray, God, that they would have an encounter with you. And the things that they feel like are insurmountable, I pray, God, that they would all of a sudden become manageable when they have an experience with you. I pray, God, that you would help us to let go of control of our own lives. Help us to move mountains. In Jesus' name I pray, everybody said, amen. We have our prayer partners that'll be down here on the front. We'd love to get a burger, a hot dog with you out there in the lobby. We'll see you next week for part 2 of Moving Mountains.